You're watching 48 Fastcast.
Good afternoon. I'm Margot Gray with this 48 News Fastcast, your daily dose of our top headlines in a short, to the point, fast newscast. So let's begin in Huntsville. Some evidence in a murder case is being called into question after the disclosure of an inappropriate relationship between the suspect and the lead homicide investigator in the case. So this is video you'll only see on WAFF 48 News. Our cameras rolled as murder suspect Shaniqua Brown's jury selection got underway. During this morning's session, defense attorneys requested that evidence from HPD investigator Jay Johnson be tossed out. The judge acknowledged that Brown and Johnson had a relationship and took a trip together to Germantown, Tennessee. Jury selection is now underway in a Huntsville woman's murder trial. As I mentioned, the judge has not yet ruled on the evidence motion. Brown is going on trial for the murder of Jasmine Moore. She was killed in 2019. At the time, investigators say they believe the deadly altercation started over social media posts. WAFF 48's Callie Neese will update you on the TV side starting at 4 p.m. Well, a former Huntsville City Schools employee who pleaded guilty to having sex with a student will go to prison for this crime. This is video you'll only see on WAFF 48 News of Dwayne Yarborough. He was sentenced to 10 years in prison for having sex with a student. Yarborough worked as a junior ROTC instructor at Lee and New Century High Schools from 2016 until 2022. Yarborough's supporters shared a message with us after today's sentencing.
His decision to accept a plea deal was not an admission of guilt, but a selfless act of love to protect his family from the pain of a prolonged trial and a possible 30-year sentence. I know firsthand, both as a parent of 2 children that he taught and as a former program manager for the Army Reserve Sexual Harassment, Assault, Response and Prevention Program, that First Sergeant Yarborough is a man of integrity, compassion, and genuine care.
Yarborough, by the way, is now in the Madison County Jail awaiting transfer to the state prison system to begin serving his sentence. Well, jury selection is underway for the trial of a Tony man charged with murdering his wife. David Tolbert is accused of shooting his wife, Savannah, in 2022. Police initially thought her death was a suicide. It was later ruled a homicide after further investigation, and Tolbert was charged with capital murder. New information you're getting here first on the 48 News Fastcast. A plea deal for one of Madison County's longest serving jail inmates. Caleb Holden pleaded guilty today to a lesser charge of felony murder. His plea is for the shooting death of 72-year-old Diane Ballard in North Madison County back in 2019. He's been in the Madison County Jail for 6 years already. The judge sentenced Holden to 20 years in prison. One man is in the hospital after a police officer involved shooting. This is happening in Ider. This happened on Highway 75 just after 10 last night. Officers say one person was taken to a local hospital and a gun was found at the scene. The DeKalb County Sheriff's Office and Jacksonville State University Center for Applied Forensics are both investigating. An elderly man is identified as the pedestrian hit and killed by an 18-wheeler in Morgan County last night. Authorities say this happened on Turkey Creek Road. The Morgan County coroner says 82-year-old Andres Pedro was killed. State troopers are investigating. So far, no charges have been filed. Well, there's a big change for tonight's Decatur City Council meeting. Today, City Council President Jacob Ladner announced a pause on all public comments. So this comes after Ladner had to abruptly end last week's work session after things got heated. Tensions boiled over during the public comment session following the recent death of John Scott Jr. after his arrest by Decatur police. The meeting itself was stopped early after a woman used profanity while addressing city leaders. 6 people were arrested. Ladner's order pausing public comment is in place for the next 2 weeks, by the way. Tonight's meeting is scheduled to begin at 6 p.m. Well, the Madison Utility Board could hear from the public tonight on its decision to end adding fluoride in public drinking water. Huntsville utility leaders say this will go into effect on June 16th. Leaders say the decision was made to reduce maintenance costs. They claim fluoride treatment was damaging their equipment and even posing a health hazard to employees. They say the decision had nothing to do with Health and Human Services Secretary John F. Kennedy Jr.'s recommendation to do away with fluoride. Tonight's meeting will be held at 5:30 at the board's office on Ray Sanderson Drive. Well, friends of a longtime Marshall County Commission chairman are remembering him fondly after his recent death. James Hutchison died Saturday morning at the age of 78. Hutchison led the commission since 2010. Rhonda McCoy worked as Hutchison's assistant during his tenure as chairman. McCoy says Hutchison's legacy is reflected in all of his accomplishments. She remembers his fight to build a new bridge built near double bridges and his push to get the first animal shelter in Marshall County up and running.
He cared about the county as a whole, not just, it was never because he wanted his name to be chairman. He wanted to make a difference and make it better, and he did that. It's hard watching someone that you love suffer when you know how strong they are and you know you can't fix them. And they know where he is. I think God allowed him to go out of this world exactly the way he wanted to.
By the way, Hutchison's funeral is this Thursday at the Marshall County RSVP building. The visitation will begin at 11:30 and then the funeral will follow, scheduled at 2 p.m. Well, Governor Ivey just wrapped up an appearance here in the Rocket City where she gave the Huntsville-Madison County Chamber of Commerce her Alabama update. The governor talked about her legislative priorities as lawmakers work to wrap up this legislative session. She left that speech at the VBC to go over to the U.S. Space and Rocket Center. While there, she conducted a ceremonial bill signing that renames the Alabama Space Science Exhibit Commission to the U.S. Space and Rocket Center Commission. We'll be right back with an update on Diddy's sex trafficking trial and the president's new plan for removing illegal immigrants and how much that will cost taxpayers. All right, let's get to new information on the 48 Fastcast. The Trump administration takes a new approach to combating illegal immigration. So today, the president announced plans to pay immigrants $1,000 to voluntarily return to their home country. The Department of Homeland Security will also pay for travel assistance. Well, the first of several days of jury selection started today in New York for Sean Diddy Combs' sex trafficking trial. Combs has pleaded not guilty after a federal grand jury indicted him last year. He rejected a plea deal last week. His trial is expected to last at least 8 to 10 weeks. Now to a major move by Israel today. Israel approved plans today to seize and occupy the Gaza Strip. Israel's prime minister announced plans to conquer the territory. The plan will be implemented after President Trump's visit to the Middle East next week. Well, the selection for a new pope gets underway this week as well. Several cardinals with the Roman Catholic Church are arriving in Rome this week. All 133 cardinals are there for the conclave to select a successor to Pope Francis, who died just after Easter. The conclave starts Wednesday in the Sistine Chapel.
Now, your first alert weather with Chief Meteorologist Brad Travis.
Looking at a pretty nice afternoon. The morning started off a little lousy, especially in some foggy areas. Temperatures in the mid to upper 60s right now. Over the next 12 hours, we'll probably see a little more fog overnight tonight. 65 degrees at 7 o'clock, so not a bad evening. This is kind of a nice break. We're going to call this Blackberry Winter here for 2024. Last year's Blackberry Winter was a little bit cooler. I think we had highs only in the 50s. 6 o'clock this evening, partly cloudy to partly sunny, I should say. It's partly cloudy when you're looking at it overnight, and that's what we're seeing there. A brief spotty drizzle area, but nothing like what we had, that little downpour that came in late yesterday afternoon. As far as Tuesday goes, Tuesday's the nicest day we're going to have for the rest of the week. Enjoy the sunshine. High temperatures back in the low to mid 70s, forecasting a high of 76. And as we get later into the day, that's when we have a few more clouds coming in. And it's going to be overnight tomorrow night into Wednesday morning that we see a round of showers, maybe some thunder showers as well. Nothing severe, but some heavy rain coming in. But again, not much coming in here Tuesday. Here's what's going on. We've got this upper level low that's kind of spinning to our north. There's another one out to the west, and in between, we've got an area of heavy downpours from Oklahoma City through Dallas and just to the north of Houston. As far as rain chances, your rain on the roof forecast, we're talking about just a 10% today. I don't think that's going to happen in most areas. It's Wednesday and Thursday and then Friday. As long as this upper level low is kind of nearby, we can't shake our rain chances. And again, nothing expected really of significance the rest of this afternoon. Here's your 10-day forecast. 76 tomorrow. Again, the nicest day of the week. Scattered showers and storms, especially early in the morning here Wednesday, and a high of only 69. We're going to keep the clouds around, and then we kind of warm back up, a little more humidity on Thursday with a high of 77. Some scattered showers, a few thunder showers there. Same thing on Friday. We'll go scattered showers, a few thunderstorms, then 76 degrees for the high there. The weekend doesn't look too bad. Latest model guidance kind of pushes this to the south, but remember last week we started out thinking the weekend was going to be amazing, and you see how it turned out. 76 degrees for Sunday. Monday, 75, and then we get back into this pre-summer weather pattern that we had the last 10 days or so. So again, a nice break for some, and we still have some problems out there with the Chinese privet and allergies from that. I'll have another look at your forecast at 4.
All right, and that'll do it for this Fast Cast. Don't forget to join us in just a few minutes during our 4 o'clock newscast, and breaking news coming in at 5, 6, and 10. We'll have you covered. Have a good afternoon.